Writers, Books, and Beyond. This program also streams live on the web at TSPNTV.com and can be watched on demand at TSPNTV.com or TSPN TV's YouTube channel. And now back to Authors, Writers, Books, and Beyond.
Hi, welcome back. My name is Kathy Boyd-Fuller, in case you just joined us, and I'm your hostess for Authors, Writers, Books, and Beyond. This is our readership program for December because authors are readers too, and this wonderful field here, we're talking about different genres. That's, a writer term. Here's a nonfiction book. This is actually my favorite all-time nonfiction book, As Always, Jack, by journalist Emma Sweeney. It's one of the most heartwarming stories about a woman who, her father dies in World War II, and when her mother dies, she leaves all the letters between them in a bundle for her. And she's been raised by her other father. And I cried, I laughed. It was just the best ever. And I sadly found them in the dollar store. I bought all 25. And I gave them to all my sisters and all my friends, and I recommend it. I think I'm down to 2. And actually, Karen Retzel, we went to school with the year, I found it in a magazine. I read the snippet in a magazine, and she went out and bought me the softcover that year for my birthday. And then I found these after that. But excellent writing. When an author can draw out of us emotion, and also when we learn something. And I learned things about being a military family. I knew a lot about the military, but I learned new things in here. I like that learning adventure. So I go between both fiction and nonfiction. I do only read print so far. Sorry, Wendy Lott, my agent out there. I'm not opposed to an e-reader. It's easier for me always being on a computer for work to read print when I'm not. So I'm curious, what genres do you prefer? I know you guys we talked earlier about e-readers and print, but do you have more than one genre? Do you go in and out? We've been talking about the historical, which I love.
Yeah.
What about you, Kathy?
Well, as far as genre, one of my favorites all my life has been science fiction.
Which surprises me.
Yes. I love it. If I could look out my window and see a UFO as a little kid, I'd have been just fine for the rest of my life. That's never happened, probably.
Oh.
I was very imaginative. But I started with Isaac Asimov
I've heard that
in
name.
elementary school, and I've read Arthur C. Clarke. And then I veered off with Stephen King books. Some of those reading, yes. And then I stopped that one for a while, but I like good science fiction, not the monsters as bugs and kinds of science fiction, but the dystopian.
Yeah, I like the dystopian.
And all the What If and Foundation series, which is a series of futuristic and mankind has moved to other planets, and the quandaries that come up with that. I really enjoy it. I think it's just still my favorite.
Are you a fan of The Lord of the Rings?
I read it 3 times, the whole thing from The Hobbit. I started in high school.
And
by the time I got married in my mid-20s, I had read them 3 times.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, that's a big yes.
Yes.
And I would not have, growing up with you in high school, figured you for a sci-fi reader.
Yeah, me neither.
My closet addiction.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Mary, what about you?
Oh, gosh. I'm such a mystery freak. I've always been in the mystery area. Agatha Christie and, Poirot and Miss Marple. They're just, I like clever people. And those are very clever books.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to think about all the details, and that one did it. It's this one over here.
Go back and forth.
Yeah, they always draw me in, and now Kathy Elliott, so.
Yeah, we found out she reads one of my author friends.
Yeah.
She's a cozy mystery writer.
Yeah, a couple of hers.
She has a new one coming out, too.
Yeah,
in 4 weeks.
I have
her Medals in
Medals
the Attic.
in the Attic.
Ooh.
I have, and then this other one. I guess this was an earlier one. A vase of mistaken.
She likes to play on
Ooh,
words.
exactly.
Yes,
We have
and
to find a new.
this Agatha Christie is brand new. the Monogram Murders, Hercule Poirot.
Oh.
You know,
Oh,
it's just, I just got it. I haven't even
Interesting.
read any part of it yet. It just said
how
Agatha
fun.
Christie,
Yeah.
Hercule Poirot, and I got it.
so the cover did draw you in with those
This
names on it.
time it did, yes. I have to admit it did.
Yeah.
This
Wow.
time.
I met Kathy when this first one came out in 2008, because this is the one I bought from her.
A Vase of Mistaken
Yeah,
Identity.
it-
I think I asked you about this when you mentioned her, and I think you recommended that one.
I like
to
her
me.
writing.
Yeah.
This new
Yeah.
one, I think I can officially say, forgive me, Kathy, if it's too early, is A Stitch in Crime.
Yes. Yes, I saw the
And
title.
so we're going to be, she just had her, I missed it last night because it's during my Bible study.
I did too, I missed it.
Did you miss it? I
Yeah,
was so sad.
did.
It was exact time frame.
Yeah, yeah, with everything happening, when Fred got home late and all of that, and I just totally missed it.
Yeah, the authors, because the publishing world has changed since our little golden books, authors now are more responsible also for their marketing. And so we have to do things like blog tours, virtual blog tours, which were formerly, you did book signings and launches. The launch comes first, and then the book signings. And so there's a little bit more on the author plate now. Helps, and Kathy and I are in the same agency. She's been with Janet Grant since the very beginning when Janet was on her own. She's with the president and I'm with the vice president. And so, and that's something my agent blogs every Tuesday, and I always read the blogs from all of them, all 5 of the agents. And covers draw me in. I read, as always, Jack. In the magazine, I picked it up, and the reason I read it in the doctor's office was the picture of the cover that was in the magazine. And once I started, I couldn't stop. And sometimes, they say not to judge a book by its cover,
Yeah.
but we do.
Yeah.
Don't you agree?
Yeah,
so.
I agree. Yeah.
So,
Why do you think that is?
Because we're visual.
That's
Yeah.
right.
It's a very strong indicator for me. But then I usually look at the cover, like this one wasn't particularly appealing on the cover, but once I read the jacket, it really hooked me. And this is probably the best book I have read in forever.
Don't you find that title interesting, though?
Yeah, it's a very lengthy title, and it's very reflective. Yeah. But anyway, he's gotten a lot of praise for this book. Anthony Doerr, I guess is how you pronounce it. And I hope it becomes a movie.
And that's the best thing that can happen to a book.
And interesting, 2 of my favorite books that I've read have to do with World War II. And I'm not I didn't think I was particularly avid, had an interest in World War II until I started reading about it. This one by Laura Hillenbrand is coming out in movie form on Christmas Day. Extraordinary book, true story.
I just got it.
Loved it. Very inspirational. And the character, Louis Zamperini, just passed away. He was quite a character, and he lived through
Hell.
enormous atrocities as a prisoner of war in Japan. And
Doesn't Angelina Jolie direct that?
Angelina Jolie is directing it. He was actually scheduled to be the Grand Marshal for the Rose Parade this coming
Yeah.
year. And of course,
He
he
passed away.
passed away, but I think they're going to still hold that honor for him.
Have you seen the movie clips? I've seen the previews.
Yes.
No, I haven't seen any clips
It's
yet.
very
I'd
intense
like
and
to.
very well done.
I think, especially because it's a true story, and I really enjoy the fact that this really happened. This is a real person, and he did these wonderful things for our country and survived and had a great story to tell.
What else are you interested in?
Oh, gosh, like I say, I still so close to mysteries. Sometimes, of course, a good cookbook's always a good read.
I agree.
Especially a cookie book.
Yeah.
But, if I'm going to read to the grandkids, it's usually something classic, like children's garden verses, Robert Louis Stevenson. I love that. I always did as a kid, too. So they read stuff like that. I read that to them sometimes, But I always like the classics. I have older books, Louisa May Alcott, those kinds of things, Little Women.
Did you guys read those?
Yes. I don't remember. I don't think I did. I remember hearing of them, but
Yeah.
I don't think I read them.
And I had a couple that my mom had. Well, she didn't have the books anymore, but an old author, Gene Stratton Porter, with Freckles and Girl with the Limberlost.
I love that book.
I really got into those because they're so descriptive and they're so, she tells, and it's a woman, it's not a man. It's spelled like a man, but it's a woman. And because at that time, women weren't accepted in any kind of professional field. So she spelled her name like a man, G-E-N-E.
It was very common.
Yeah, it was, but she described almost a romantic angle, the way she describes things, you know. And I've even read them as an adult again.
And enjoyed them.
Yes, you know, and picked up details that I'd missed as a kid or as a teenager or something. I loved them. I still love them, you know.
Do you reread your favorite books?
Yes.
Over and over.
I read Stephen King's The Stand, I admit it.
Oh.
3 times. It must be The Charm. And then they put out an unabridged version. The first book is 400 pages or more.
Wow.
With another, I think, 300 or 400 pages. Because the storytelling was so vivid for, it's very dystopian. It's about as dystopian as you get. But he created these characters that were so consistent and so compelling. So, and then Bill Bryson, who I enjoy very much.
I tend to reread too. And I like to read certain books again at Christmas, like Little Women, the same time of year, just for pleasure. I was trying to talk my daughter into doing a Jane Austen book club because I read Jane Austen not in high school, early in marriage, and then I didn't read it again until my 40s. And so I wanted to do for the first of the year a Jane Austen book club, so she's still thinking about it. Yeah, I would enjoy that. Just different inputs on it from, I'm a different age now, you know, a little older, a little wiser, hopefully. And before we take our break, we're going to come back in a little bit. I want to let you know that we're going to talk about your creative sides. So, Kathy's photography and Anne's bags. That sounds bad. Handbags.
The handbag sounds
Yeah,
better.
handbags. I'm so sorry. Bye.
You're watching your local